everyone, it's Skiesti. I'm a top 500 Mercy streamer over on Twitch and offer VOD reviews at my Ko-fi. Today we're looking at a game from a Grandmaster Mercy with a peak of 4353. This is our first GM VOD review and I'm excited because there's plenty to learn from. This Mercy is worried that they might be failing to meet the basics and are concerned they're bad at playing Mercy in higher lobbies. They also have a habit of feeling like they have to heal everyone to 100% and then damage boosting and not really letting their Ana or their second healer take care of the rest of the team. When it comes to team composition, since you're running Reinhardt, Zarya, and Ana will be able to take the majority of healing. Your default pocket here is Cassidy since your alternative is Reaper. Just before we get into the review, I am extremely excited to announce that this video was made in collaboration with BenQ. When I'm working on these VOD reviews late at night or playing Overwatch, I now have the perfect lighting environment thanks to BenQ's ScreenBar. It keeps my desk clutter-free and saves space since it easily attaches to the top of my monitor. ScreenBar is equipped with anti-glare technology, auto-dimming, as well as adjustable brightness and color temperature to relieve eye strain. BenQ's ScreenBar is also USB powered and can plug into any USB outlet. In addition, the touch controls and simplified design makes it incredibly convenient and easy to use. I've been personally using BenQ's products for years and the ScreenBar has been an incredibly useful addition to my setup. If you're interested in getting one yourself, there's a link in the description. I would definitely encourage you to check them out because I love them. Thank you so much, BenQ, and now onto the video. You can damage boost on Cass as Ana has a sideline on her tanks, and Cass has better range and can properly contest the farm Mercy, and he needs your assistance with that, as in like a 1v2 versus a 2v2. He accomplishes his job with you and can't really do it without you. Again, there's no reason to stop beaming Cass, especially when he gets crit and Ana is full health. Try to trust your other healer to heal your tanks so that damage boosted Cass can keep up pressure. This Guardian Angel is unnecessary since you can safely beam from cover still instead. You don't have to help Ryan Zar here. They're only fighting one person on the right and they can peek the doorway to be healed by Ana if they need to, which allows you to safely play back from where you were before. When there's a chance that the enemy is going to recontest, try not to be on the point. You could be playing here instead. There's 4 people on point, and since max cap speed only requires 3, you can play a bit further back in cover. Your Ana uses her nade, so she's okay, and since your Cass is being pushed by the Pharah, you should stay with him and tend to Ana afterwards if she needs it. You can wait for the res and let your Ana heal your tanks if you wanted to, but since spawn is right there, it's not entirely necessary. Ana's actively healing Zarya, so you don't need to heal her as well, you can just damage boost. Try to be more aware of who your beam is on and who needs it more in any given situation. This Guardian Angel is kind of scuffed and you should probably just stay on the left side. Also, you've been kind of constantly swapping targets here, which leads to downtime, and there's not a lot of focus on win conditions sometimes. Not balking here is alright because Ryan and Zar are on opposite sides of the cart and there's a chance Zar won't technically be in line of sight for it. Normally, you don't balk when your team is grabbed anyway, but if it was able to beam both of them and you were able to get the healing from Ana as well, it might not be bad. When balking, rather than disconnecting from Reaper to Cass when Cass takes damage, you can keep your beam on Reaper and swap from damage boost to heal. Even though Reaper is full HP, the chain from beam will heal Cass. Doing this reduces downtime from disconnecting beam to reconnect onto Cass. Widen your perspective and be in a safer place. I'd position on the other side of the cart here instead. Pistoling a Pharah sometimes when she's barraging is okay, but in this case you know she's going to have a Mercy with her, and she's nearing the end of barrage, which ends up negating your pistol. You could play a bit further back here. You don't have to GA across the enemy sightline here. Your team is on their way back, and you can stay safely on the other side and wait, as it's unlikely the enemy will push past choke right now. I'm actually genuinely confused as to how you don't get shattered. Sometimes players will make, let's say, interesting choices, like the enemy Ryan here. He's antied, healing won't save him. Pistol is unnecessary here. I would focus on helping the remaining team members. You could be playing a bit further back, and once Zar dies, you can try to retreat down main instead of inside the library to try to live, but you might have been pinned anyway depending on how silly the Ryan is feeling. Pistol is also unnecessary because you already have your ult, but I will say that if you're worried about being staggered, you can pull out the pistol but intentionally miss your shots to make it look like you're trying to put up a fight. Let your Ana heal Ryan for alt charge. And again, your Ana can heal Ryan. You valked too early because you want to heal Ryan, but he's chillin'. Ana has a sightline on him, he's good. Valk isn't really getting any value when the enemy is around the corner and you're still back at choke. Pay attention to your main beam target and who's being chained by it. Again, don't disconnect your beam unless it's necessary. Just swap between damage boost and heal as long as the person who actually needs it is chained. Don't take your beam off the cast, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Heal on Ryan here is okay because he's being pushed hard, but once he gets nanoed, it's unnecessary. When Ana gets hit again after she nades herself and you hear the voice line, you should heal her to full. Let her take care of the tanks if possible so she's in less danger of dying, because right now, if she gets hit once, she's gonna die. Please heal her. Watch short guardian angels like this. You're putting GA on cooldown when it doesn't need to be, and you could just really easily walk forward. Try to pay closer attention to your Ana so that she has to use nade on herself less. Ana can heal cast here so that you can take a second to heal her. It's okay to heal Ryan a bit in this Valk until your Ana is able to take over, but once she is, damage boost. Get that damage boost out. Again, when Reaper's in Wraith, heal him during that so that he's full HP outside of it again, and that'll make it so that you don't have to take extra time solo beaming him in your Valk. Be careful about your Valk duration and make sure you're aware of when it ends so you don't get put in bad positions like this with tunnel visioning. Make sure to stay behind the payload when you're healing Ryan just in case they have another recontest. You do not want to get caught on the payload by accident. Keep your beam on Cassidy until the Ryan goes to Fire Strike, then your attention or beam should be on him as he takes a lot of damage and needs additional healing. But no, don't heal the little bits of damage. Leave that to your Ana. I know it's tempting to go across the sideline to heal Reaper, but if possible, you probably just want to stay back and let Ana handle it or let Reaper get the health pack inside. It's a great to heal a bit to help Ana with the tanks when they're critical, but once the nade comes out or they're at a safer HP, you can dedicate to damage boost through Valk. When cast gets booped back, you can focus your beam on your teammates who are still pushing and have more of an active sightline. I would suggest safer positioning in this fight, probably like this. When Ryan puts up his shield, it's pretty clear he's not going to Fire Strike, so you can swap to your cast. Like we've mentioned before, watch unnecessary beam swapping. Also, you could be looking around more than you are. Right now, you're playing next to the hotel entrance, which is a pretty ideal path for flankers. When your team starts to back up more, you can super jump to the window above on the right and beam from there. Once Reaper comes out of Wraith and cast takes damage, you can swap to your cast instead as he's in more danger and Reaper can technically heal from his passive or have Ana assist him instead. After res, you can super jump to the window since cast is close enough to be beamed from there. This position makes it harder for enemies to get to you as they have to use their cooldowns or they have to take a very long path up to the high ground and then over to you. And it also reduces line of sight and flanking opportunities through the hotel or through main. You don't need to take a moment to heal Sigma, you can just help cast here. When you're retreating, you can follow along the wall on the right side instead of near the health pack and then having to GA across another sideline afterwards. You can be standing in the window again here. Watch even slightly peeking sightlines to avoid getting hit by Fire Strike or similar abilities. Again, watch your beam swapping. Try not to move into sightlines, especially when you're in Valk. You can stay where you were before initially, then GA to Ana and play near that wall with Valk instead. Because right now, you're closing off your point of view by turning your back on the enemy, so you don't really know what's happening when you're looking at your team on the ground. Position more toward the wall in the choke instead of near the hotel. This should be safe safer and still allow you to beam Reaper the entire time. You don't have to rush this res. You've got a high charge Zarya near you, and that's really dangerous. Keep your distance at first, wait for Flex to be over, and then go for it. Should be on cast earlier and setting up for the next fight. You be playing from inside the window again, and pay attention a little bit more to who your beam is on right now. When Cass goes to the left side of the statue, you can follow him and play near the health kit until he backs up. You can play from the window again here and also watch unnecessary GAs next to your teammates. Since you're not in the window, you should be behind choke instead of near hotel, as it's safer for you there. When you retreat, make sure you're behind your teammates backing up instead of in front. And try to keep your beam attached since your team is still taking a significant amount of damage. Since only Ana and Cass are alive, I would just commit to backing up completely instead of potentially holding the corner. If you were holding the corner though, the ledge is a good place to be. This is a small thing, but wait for your Cass to peek the top of the stairs first while you sit behind the wall as beam permits. Here, watch standing too close to your team. This Valk is way too early, and it's kind of a habit that I've noticed in this VOD. Initiating with Valk is normally not the play. The enemy isn't even around the corner yet, so a quarter of this Valk just ends up being wasted. Most of the time, using Valk to initiate ends up not working out anyway. Instead, I would say Valk is used mostly to turn fights. You could use it selfishly to stay alive, or for a res that you couldn't otherwise get. There's some other uses for it, but those are the main three. Watch beam swapping and try to take advantage of damage boosts more, especially when your Ana is actively healing while you're in Valk, unless someone is crit. Try to push damage boost a little bit more throughout this high noon. Since Ana is behind the team and safe right now, I would prioritize helping your teammates push to clean up the fight and then help Ana afterward. Let Ana heal Sigma once she rounds the corner while you help Cass. If this res means that Cass dies, I would focus on keeping your Cass alive and let Ryan come back from spawn. Since Ryan died earlier, he gets back faster. You still have one tank alive, and Cass can help clean up better. Should be backing up to the right instead of the left. If the enemy pushes in, you don't want to have to GA across that sightline. Also, when backing up, you'd normally mainly damage boost Sigma and let Ana heal him, but if you wanted to build up your Valk during this time, that's okay. Since the enemy is all on the left side, you can position on the high ground or on the right side rather than sort of cutting your sightline off playing near the wall down main. Again, when your team is backing up, try to be behind them instead of in front. You probably want to be positioned on the left instead of on the right side here because, like mentioned earlier, when the enemy pushes, you're going to be split off from your team or have to GA across the sightline. This Valk feels too early again for the same reason as the other one does. The enemy team is still quite far back and almost half of this Valk is wasted, unfortunately. Also, watch beam swapping. You most likely position again on the left side instead of the right, or you can super jump up to the middle high ground and play behind the boxes and help from there. It's a bit too much beam swapping here, happening without reason. Watch Guardian Angel, you're a little too close to the team. Since you're moving back now, you should be playing around the corner. Since your Ana has line of sight as well as Nano, she can use it if Ryan gets too critical. Leave him to her so that you don't GA forward and get shattered. When you stand back up, you're not likely to be able to save your Sigma since the enemy has numbers and are aggressing. I know your Reaper gets nanoed as well, but he's too far forward for you to even help him. I'll just start backing up with the rest of your team instead. You should definitely reposition once Reaper dies rather than staying in the window. Like we talked about before, the enemy's going to push in and you're going to get split off from your team. If you reposition earlier and keep falling back to regroup, then you won't get stuck here. I would recommend not going out just yet. Reaper's gonna die with or without your help, and since you almost die as well, you have to wait for your regen to kick in and to be a suitable health. If you hang back a bit, you'll be in a better position health-wise to pocket your cast and get Valk off of him. Ideally, I'd say that you're playing to get Valkyrie here and sell the payload as much as possible. You've got two options. Start moving to the left of the stairs around Torb ult so you can keep in range of cast to get the last bits of heal for Valk, or pistol once cast is dead instead of guarding and angeling out to the point. If you do either of those, you should be able to get Valk to stall, and I'd prioritize that instead of rezzing, or anything else here. You can let Ana heal that small amount on Rein while you help your DPS push. Be careful about Jing in front of your DPS. Let them push first, and then follow their lead so you don't potentially get stuck in poor positions. The payload will heal Ana once it starts moving since you're attacking. You shouldn't go all the way back to Ana just to heal her when your team needs you right now. Your cast dies because of this, and it could have been prevented. You GA too far forward. You shouldn't go for this res at all because it's too dangerous and your team can't help you cover it since they're backing up. This Valk feels like a panic Valk because you have to get back to the cart faster. I would encourage you, if possible, since your team is right outside of spawn, to hold Valk for the next fight since the enemy backs up pretty easily after their Rein dies. And honestly, I know it's on site here, but if you want to fight the Reaper on high ground, you should probably do so from a bit further back just so that he does less damage to you. This is where Valk would have been ideal for their recast. Positioning on the left is good since Reaper's on the right and there's Turbo behind you in choke. The enemy team comes in with a lot of ults, so this is a hard fight for your team to win. The only thing I'd suggest differently is it would have been great if you had Valk, but to not res the Ana since she already used her ult, and instead try to keep your Rein alive long enough for him to get shatter. You also don't have to leave the cubby on the left. You're better off staying in that position as long as beam permits to keep Rein alive.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Connection ongoing.
Enemy turret ahead.
It's nice to see you keeping the high ground position when your Ashe drops because you're safer here. After you heal BAP, you can super jump back up to the high ground as long as Ashe stays in range, and then you can drop and play behind the telephone booth when she goes out of range. If you wanted to, you could also play near the hotel wall since all the enemies are on the left, but again, beam permitting. You can let BAP take care of Rein. He's in immortality, and once you get to him, he's up to half health anyway, so I just encourage you to keep your position. You can start to reposition a bit earlier since they're starting to push the left and your team is backing up to hotel. When they're pushing up to point, you can reposition to the window in the top right like we talked about before. I'd focus beam on Ashe through this coal and let BAP take care of majority heals for tanks. I know you're preemptively healing BAP because he's going to take damage from Reaper that's coming behind, but I would keep beam on Ashe until he actually takes damage. After the res finishes, you should heal your BAP immediately. Like, immediately. When you GA behind the choke, you're cutting off your line of sight to Sigma, who needs your help as the only healer. When your Reaper goes in, since you still have Valk's extended beam range, you can stay around the building instead of peeking in sight lines. I see you going for this, Rez. Watch your cooldowns. And even if you did have res, this is pretty dangerous since Zarya has high charge and you really need to stay alive. Instead of falling down the stairs, position on the inside of the high ground when you GA to Ashe, and once Ashe drops down, you can GA off of her again and twist yourself over to the left side of the statue. I think you actually don't help Rein here. Hear me out. It's probably better to play with Ashe. This is because the enemy is down 4 with just their tanks left. Damage boosting Ashe when she has a good sightline on them can reduce time to kill so the enemy can't come back, and she can also build Bob who can anchor point if Rein dies. As well, Reaper and Ball are going to be back fast, so it's alright if Rein doesn't survive this. That'll be it for this VOD review. It was really cool to get a chance to review another fellow GM player, and hopefully this was helpful not just for the Mercy review, but for the Mercies and other ranks too. I think we covered a lot of great stuff to learn from, especially in like a higher elo setting. I wish you good luck, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.